Welcome back to Nerd Radio on the podcast page, WRAF.com. Also on the podcast page at Hit It L.
Rock929rocks.com in Boston.
Absolutely, as well as on Twitch TV Wednesday afternoons at Give It To Me, James.
Twitch.tv/checkpointxp.
And real quick,
Yeah.
The podcast listeners just missed 10 minutes of
10 minutes.
wonderful conversation on Twitch.
However, as I said previously, we have a YouTube channel now. That's the kind of content that will live on our YouTube channel, at least until we break the standards and practices. And they tell us we can't do that.
Yes.
We are joined
Nerd Radio, Red Band YouTube.
We are joined this week by my co-host on the One Fall Show and Talk Horror to Me, Shonny Constant.
Hello.
And we are also joined by Erica Banas.
Hey.
For this particular segment, because this is our Squared Circle Roundtable. We're going to talk about some wrestling. We do this every now and again, but it was very important that we do it this week because this may be the most important week in pro wrestling. Am I being too dramatic, guys?
In the 21st century, this is the most important week in wrestling.
I'd agree to that. Definitely.
And see, this does make me curious because I don't follow wrestling at all.
Right.
So I'm actually curious to hear what made it such a big week and see if I care. I mean, you know what I mean.
No, I totally understand. And
I'm very curious.
I know you're curious, but knowing enough about you, you'd be like, still don't care.
Okay, well.
But we care, damn it.
Either way, I will forget this conversation as soon as I walk out the door.
That's fair.
There we go.
No, that's fair. The only time that wrestling has been, we've been saying it all year, ever since we knew that AEW was coming with a television show. And the only time that wrestling has been this competitive, I would say, was back in the late 90s, early 2000s, when it was the Monday Night Wars between WCW and WWF at the time. And now starting tonight, as we record this on a Wednesday, this is when the Wednesday Night Wars begin. Because tonight at 8 o'clock on TNT, AEW's first episode of AEW Dynamite airs head-to-head with NXT over on the USA Network, which is WWE's essentially their farm league. People, at least when it started, this was the where people would learn to wrestle in the WWE style and then eventually move up to Raw or SmackDown. Over the last couple of years, NXT has become nearly as important as Raw and SmackDown. If not,
that was going to be my question. It was originally just a network show, wasn't it?
Yes.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah, they had it on the WWE Network, but knowing that, NXT or AEW was going to have a television show, they wanted to have something on at the exact same time on the exact same night, and they were moving SmackDown to Fox on Fridays. Raw has always been on Monday nights, so they were like, you know what? We do this NXT thing on Wednesdays on the network, and it's does real big numbers. I bet we could just do it on USA.
And that was going to be my next question: is what the numbers are like, and even in the room, how important NXT is to the three of you. Because I know Chuck, just like from like in a comic book world, Chuck likes an off the beaten path comic because he's been collecting for so long.
For sure.
Where I'm kind of a meat and potatoes guy, so I could see myself wanting to watch Raw, but not really caring about NXT. So I was just kind of curious, if you guys differ from Chuck or if you guys are really into NXT as well.
It's very interesting that you mentioned the whole meat and potatoes aspect because the way that they're advertising NXT, and I don't know if anyone else has noticed this, all of their TV ads, they're labeling it's like, no BS, this, that, and the other, which I'm like, okay, you're kind of burying your other product. I digress. But like NXT has always been championed as like the wrestling fans brand within WWE. Like the true, diverse wrestling styles, diverse characters. There seems to be a little bit more creative freedom, at least, when it was on the network. I haven't, because I've been kind of busy lately with things, I haven't been able to watch the USA product yet. I will eventually after I watch AEW, because we are very much an AEW home.
Okay.
Very much behind those guys, as I'm sitting here in my Young Bucks t-shirt, aptly wearing my Killing the Business shirt because, obvious reasons.
The cameras can't see that.
Well,
you are very small. I'm just saying.
Can the cameras see this?
They can absolutely see that.
Actually, no. That was not on camera. But we can see Steve Black in the background. Hi, Steve.
Hi, Steve. Hey, he heard us.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh,
See,
no,
still
he
in the
heard
shot.
you, loud ass. Come on.
Still in the
He
shot.
heard us. Good God.
There we go.
Where was I before I gave Chuck the finger?
AEW household, you're going to watch AEW, then you'll check out the NXT product.
Yeah, whatever
Yeah,
tonight's NXT show is like.
The AEW show Dynamite is airing tonight for the its premiere episode is tonight, and before they even have gone to television, they've already made a difference in how WWE has presented their product before their show has even started. So for everyone that's, pissing and moaning about, oh, I hope they fail, blah, blah, blah. No, you want this. You want them to be successful because the product from WWE has already improved before their television program has even started.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. Like ever since it started getting close to TV time, the way they set up Raw every night, the way they set up SmackDown every night, it's much differently. It's not like a wrestler coming out and cutting a promo for 20 minutes. They'll come out, they'll start to cut a promo, bam, it's interrupted, bam, there's a match, bam, you're excited and you're sucked in. And there's wrestlers that I don't give a crap about, and that might offend some people, but to me, AJ Styles is not an interesting wrestler to me. He's like the Nickelback of wrestling. But I actually gave a crap about one of his matches.
Oh, shut up. You don't know what that means. Shut the hell up, Al. Good God.
Sean, what are your feelings about tonight's?
I'm James Hype Man. Shut up.
Yeah. My Flavor Flav.
You need a different hat then.
What are your feelings, Sean, about tonight's the AEW versus NXT?
I'm extremely excited as well. I think that, since the WCW essentially went away, WWE, as it now is, has owned the market share of the highest end production in wrestling. Well, that's created this influx of people who either flourished in Japan or in the indies in America in a way that I think models the old regional promotions mentality where people had to travel from town to town to make enough money throughout the year to justify that lifestyle. And it's really exciting to see this all culminate in this face-off essentially with NXT, which has a huge stockpile of great talent that they've plucked out of the indies and away from Japanese promotions. New Japan is the one I think of.
Yeah, New Japan, Ring of Honor.
Right.
I think that we're going to really find out so for people who may be a lapsed wrestling fan, I know that's one thing that the people at AEW have talked about a lot. I don't know that AEW is going to bring back the lapsed wrestling fan, but I think the profile may bring back some people. Seeing SmackDown move to Fox, you're seeing Fox news stations throwing stuff up from WWE events in their entertainment news, and I'm sure it's popping up in the actual sports promotion on Fox as well.
I saw it on during the Lions game over the weekend.
Yeah, and so that's going to bring some people around. Now, is there enough talent? Is there enough ingenuity to? So professional wrestling is a fairly limited palette in the types of stories it can tell, and so when you have 10 hours of programming a week, you're sort of burning through those different story types at an accelerated rate. So is there enough character in the performers to entertain a bigger audience than Raw and SmackDown have had for the last 15 years? I think that's what's really interesting to me.
And that's something too to think about is that when, at the height of the Monday Night Wars, you were essentially looking at a Monday where you had two shows going head to head and then a Thursday where two shows were going head to head, but you only had somewhere in the neighborhood of 4 to 8 hours of programming to get through. Whereas now the wrestling week essentially starts on Wednesday and ends on Monday because you've got the AEW NXT shows going head to head on Wednesday. Is Impact on Thursday? Impact Wrestling?
Oh, fudge.
Or am I don't.
Okay, yeah.
Tuesdays on Access.
Okay.
Access.
So Thursday's kind of a dead day, but then SmackDown is on Friday. Saturdays and Sundays typically can be any type of pay-per-view event, no matter whether it's Ring of Honor or New Japan or whatever like that. Sundays are typically WWE events, and then your wrestling week essentially ends on Monday with Raw, and that's a lot of wrestling to watch. But it is also 2019, and there is multiple ways to watch that wrestling. You can essentially 2 hours after a show, even an hour after a show is off the air, just go on Twitter and see what you missed.
It's a lot easier to consume it all the content. Because I know during the Monday Night Wars, that's when I was into wrestling.
Right.
And I was a Raw guy, so I would check out Nitro, but during commercial breaks.
Yeah.
But now you can DVR, you've got all the recaps, you've got the network, and it's a lot easier to kind of consume all of it if you have that desire.
And that was something I forgot to bring up too, is that we live in a world with DVRs now.
Yeah.
So it's very easy to just set the DVR for NXT, watch AEW, and then go back on the DVR and watch NXT.
Erica lives in an AEW house, so they're going to watch that first, but NXT is sitting on a DVR to go watch it at her leisure.
Yeah.
Or, because I think the NXT show on Thursdays will be available on the network. So I might just watch it on the network.
Yeah, just make that your Thursday show.
Pretty much. Also, not only that, but I know there's definitely ways where they track DVR views. And I'm sorry, I want to put all my support behind AEW and stack the deck as much as I can because...
Sure.
So you're going to leave things on the DVR long enough to go beyond their ability to track them?
Well, no, I'm not even going to DVR NXT.
Oh, excellent.
I'm just going to wait until it goes to the network because we have the network.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Sure.
So that's my nerdy way of trying to fight against just the monopoly that WWE has had.
Right, and one of the things that we've even seen with this past Monday's Raw, they changed the stage up a little bit, but Pyro is back. And that is definitely an impact that has been had from AEW.
It's funny because I didn't even notice the pyro was back. They let off fireworks this week.
They did.
Oh my god!
They started the show with fireworks. There was a handful of wrestlers that came out and had fireworks in their intro. That hasn't happened in a long time, whether except for when it was SummerSlam or WrestleMania.
I didn't even know it went away.
They decided to cut costs almost a year or two ago.
It was cost cutting.
Yeah, they were like, well,
they're not making enough money, so I guess we'll save on the sparklers.
Publicly traded company,
right?
Well.
When you've got Murdoch money and Saudi royal family money and competition, you'll figure out a way to put pyro in the budget again.
Right.
That's just how it goes.
Well, I don't think it's foolish to think that the pyro wouldn't be back if it wasn't for, okay, we got to make sure that we look way better than any other product.
Absolutely.
That they can, that they can turn the channel to.
Have you ever heard of lasers? Lasers can do some pretty cool
it's
stuff.
It's been a long time since they used lasers, and it always looks cool.
Need fireworks.
Wait, do you guys remember, they usually do this on pay-per-views and whatnot, but, they use, 3D graphics, during entrances and stuff.
Yeah.
It looks like a bucket of crap.
Yeah, it does look bad.
And I think enough people finally complained. We're like, fine, we won't do the graphics anymore. We'll just get, a bunch of smoke and sparklers.
I always get nervous when they pull that stuff out for SummerSlam or whatever like that, because you can see the big machine that's on the side of the ring so that they can project the thing so that on TV I can see the 3D thing. And wrestlers always get real close to that thing and they're fighting. And I'm like, dude, you guys know that's millions of dollars. Don't fight near that thing. Don't accidentally knock somebody into that, damn it. But just crazy. Is there going forward, is there anything this week specifically that you guys are looking for? As far as is there a specific wrestler showing up maybe out of surprise? Is there maybe a specific story that you're looking for? I know that this Sunday is WWE's Hell in a Cell, and we're going to get to see The Fiend versus Seth Rollins. And I find that very fascinating because Bray Wyatt's character, The Fiend, has only had one match before now, and it was at SummerSlam, and obviously he beat Finn Balor in that match, and I don't know where this story goes. And those are my favorite wrestling stories, is where I can't be like, oh, obviously this is going to happen. But I'm looking at this one, I was like, Seth Rollins has been a whimpering baby. He's the champ, and he's been a whimpering baby for almost a month now whenever The Fiend shows up. How does he win? How does he win this match? But how do you put a belt on a guy that, only shows up for, Brock Lesnar?
This is one of the biggest problems that the WWE has had for a couple of years now. One thing is the flattening of the product because they put out so much and they have the PG restrictions that they've self-imposed. So everything feels very familiar. But also they have a problem with the top of their card, a champion that really captures populist opinion, I think. And I think that's what we're going to... To me, I'm with you and with Erica that Wednesday night is where it's all at. NXT has come out of the gate absolutely phenomenally. They've just absolutely nailed every minute that they've been on air, and I suspect that they're going to continue to do so because Triple H is very, very good at what he does. The most interesting thing to me is not a certain person or storyline, but can AEW hold up to the hype is really what it's entirely about. If it turns out that a year from now the ratings have been so bad that they're not even a factor, then we're as wrestling fans, we're going to stuck between watching a limping product in AEW and a WWE that's going to spend an inordinate amount of time bagging on the fact that they crushed AEW right out of
Sure.
the gate, and it's your classic David and Goliath story. It's your classic indies versus the mainstream story, and can AEW live up to the hype of the mainstream based on the work that they've done? And I think that as far as in-ring talent goes, we know absolutely that's the case. I mean, they are the best in the world. They will compete with anybody at NXT or above in the WWE, your SmackDown and your Raw, in terms of the athletics of the thing. But can they capture this spirit on a larger scale, or are the 200,000 ravenous people that we hear about who are constantly selling out their events the only people who care? And it turns out that it's a big, giant dud. It's just me, clapping for Orange Cassidy, where the rest of the world continues to turn.
Right.
Okay, first of all, you and I are continuing to clap for Orange Cassidy. Thank you. But I mean, it's a valid point. But I mean, whenever AEW's had a pay-per-view show, whether it was Double or Nothing or All Out, those programs were highly trending on Twitter. So it can't be just the same 200,000.
Right.
There is more there. Obviously, only time will tell everything. I think it's going to be very interesting to watch SmackDown, though, just to see presentation-wise if it's going to differ from the product on Raw and from what it has been now that it is on Fox, now that it has the backing of all of their power, all of their presentation. Because I think that's been one of the biggest complaints, too, about Raw and SmackDown. They look the same. They're supposed to be two different brands, but it's like, okay, one's red and one's blue. Like, that's about it. As far as champions go, if The Fiend doesn't win, I'm going to be furious.
Okay.
Just because he's been... Bray Wyatt, as just before even The Fiend, when Bray Wyatt was a backwoods cult person that was legitimately terrifying, because backwoods cult people are legitimately terrifying. Hey. Well, they are. He was booked properly, but he ran into a bunch of injuries. You can't really blame him for that. But if they don't put the belt on him, what was the point of all of the buildup?
Yeah.
You had all of the Firefly Funhouse stuff. You had all of the, moments with Mick Foley and Lawler and him showing up out of nowhere, and then just like a fart in church, he loses. What would be the damn point? I'm sorry. Like, the time for him is now, and if they don't capitalize on it, they're friggin' stupid. I'm going out on a rant because now it's like, now I'm like all like just worked up, and I'm like, why am I sitting in this chair? I need to be walking around with a microphone like I'm Chris Rock in like in a stand-up special, just pacing. It's all speculation right now, but I can say one thing. I have a funny feeling Brock will, because it's Brock against Kofi for the title
On Friday.
on
Friday
Friday.
night.
Friday, yeah.
Yep.
Brock is going to win, and I don't want it to happen. I am bored with Brock Lesnar. He does not interest me at all. I know a lot of people really like the whole him throwing around Rey Mysterio and Dominic, and they thought that it's been done. Like, after Dean Ambrose said, like, the big reason why, like, Brock is the way he is like, Vince can own him. It's Vince's monster. That's how I see him now. He's not a threat. He's just a guy.
He's a bully.
He's a bully who gets a sweet-ass paycheck, and good on him for that. If I was making Brock Lesnar money, sure, I'll show up to wherever the hell you want me to show up.
Right.
But, like, he's not special anymore. He's just a jackass with a sword tattoo who gets really overheated, like, after, like, 2 to 3 German suplexes. He gets that really beet red look.
Oh, yeah.
I think.
Our friend Elizabeth calls him the angry ham.
Yes, because I think
I look the same way after 2 donuts, by the way.
Well, I mean,
Those are big donuts, Al.
You're a special little boy, though. So we still love you because of it.
Also rethinking my sword tattoo idea.
Yeah, no, you're gonna look like a jackass.
Well, yours was okay because you had the sword going into your butt crack, like it's your sword holster.
Imagine if you just like stepped out with your first tattoo and you're showing it off, and it is the Brock Lesnar
That's your chest
like
tattoo.
wiener sword tattoo that he's got across.
Put my shirt back down. Sorry,
Strutting out,
guys.
snapping your suspenders, and people are like, ooh, geez.
Really happy about that 5 minutes ago.
James?
I liked what Brock was doing with Mysterio and Dominic, because I think that he really works as a guy who comes out and just breaks things. I don't need anything else from him. I don't need him to have the title. I don't need him impacting storylines. I like him as just this angry guy who doesn't follow a script because he doesn't care enough to, if you're going to use him in that capacity. But yeah, as far as it looks like he's going to be a major title holder again. And that's where I say we have a problem here, in that they don't have anyone else to break the ceiling of ratings problems they've had. There's nothing new that makes me believe that they're going to improve upon that. Now, will this week bring in this influx of new interest? I think that could very well happen, and that'll be interesting to see. But I think for people who may have been on the fence, or people who enjoy wrestling but don't watch it all that much, you cannot go wrong on the Wednesday right now. If you watch either NXT or AEW, I think you're going to be entertained. And then if you just don't like wrestling, I don't make it my business to try to convince people to, because I get it. It's a hard pill to swallow. But if you like the this idea of the pageantry and the faux combat and the acrobatics and the just blowing off steam by rooting for something nonsensical, you're going to have a great time with either NXT or AEW. And I think you might be getting in on what is now going to be a first wave in a new movement of wrestling fans. And so it's kind of cool in that way.
Yeah, kind of ground floor stuff.
It's a reboot. It's the soft reboot.
James, is there anything you have to add before we wrap up here as far as wrestling this week?
Not really. I got nothing.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I'm excited for Hell in the Cell. I love Hell in the Cell. I think ever since Mick Foley got thrown off the top of the Hell in the Cell cage back.
So that's a match I remember too.
Yeah, and that sets the bar super high for every other Hell in the Cell that sometimes they don't live up to.
Yeah, so I'm always excited for that particular pay-per-view just because I love that event. But like now, I'm no longer like in the mindset of trying to figure out where WWE is taking all these different storylines. I just like to watch it play out.
Yeah, just see what's going to happen.
No, I agree. They're going to give the title back to Brock, which pisses me off. I love Kofi as the champ. He was here in the building before SmackDown in Detroit.
Yep.
One of the coolest guys. I think he's great as a champ, and I thought it was what he did up against Randy Orton was good and fun to watch. I'm looking forward to see him taking on Brock in hopes that maybe Brock isn't going to win the title. But and I'm also excited to see what they do with The Fiend. I think it'd be crazy to see him win the title so soon. But I agree with what you're saying. Like, where do you go from here? If he doesn't win, like, what was the point of it all? So it's exciting times. I'm excited to see what AEW brings to the table. Mm-hmm. I haven't seen any of their stuff because I'm too cheap. I'm too cheap to buy the pay-per-view. My girlfriend will not allow me to do the bootleg ways of watching this stuff.
Sure.
She's too worried about going to jail. Probably mostly her going to jail. I could write a letter
jail.
or whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
But
whatever.
I'm excited. It's a big week. I feel like The Rock's coming to
He's
Friday
gonna be on
night for
SmackDown.
SmackDown.
Yep.
I think going to set something up for him to go to Saudi Arabia. 'Cause I think isn't that what they're doing with Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair?
That does make
Those
sense.
two teams. He's probably going to come. There's going to be some weird little storyline that he'll be wrapped up in that'll get resolved in Saudi Arabia. He'll collect his $5 billion or
I think
whatever.
he just gets straight jacked by the Fiend.
Actually,
think
I would love that.
It's in LA.
I would love that.
Pops.
That'd be
Fiend is the legend
incredible.
killer.
No, that would be the most amazing
Yeah.
thing.
That would be awesome if that were to happen. So and that also create more hype for the Hell in the Cell
Yep.
match on Sunday.
Right.
Get some more subscribers to the WWE Network, and Vince McMahon can go to the bank and cash a fatter check than he's already cashed.
Right. And where's on Wednesdays?
AEW is going to be on TNT. Wednesday
So are you
nights
going to
at 10
start watching it then, James?
or Wednesday nights at
Yeah,
8?
I'll be a regular watcher of that, and I'll probably flip between them and NXT.
Are you
I
right now
enjoy-
involved in NXT at all?
A little bit, not as much as probably like these guys. I watched
Okay.
the first night it was on, and then it's on up against the Masked Singer, so it's hard. It's hard to pick and choose a little bit.
Well,
But it's always going to be available on the network, and you can tell like some of the wrestlers on NXT aren't as seasoned in the ring
For sure.
as
Yeah.
the Raw superstars and the SmackDown superstars, because you can see some stuff get missed. So that kind of brings me out of it a little bit. So it's harder for me to suspend my disbelief when you see some of these moves get missed, and I understand they're not at the level as some of the Raw superstars,
Right.
And they're still entertaining to watch. There's still people I love. I love Velveteen Dream. I love the Bro Stallion. Like I still have my favorites and everything. But yeah, right now
The
it's just
name
so,
alone right there, Bro Stallion.
bro. Yeah, dude. it's fun. Like there's a lot of good things I think on the way for fans of professional wrestling. So it's exciting just to be able to be a part of it again. Because I wasn't into it for a long time. I was into it like the Monday Night Wars, the Attitude Era.
Right.
It was exciting. And then, like I've said before in the past, I realized all the girls that I was trying to get to touch my wiener were not into wrestling, so I had to put some stuff to the side. And now that I'm with a girl who's into it, it's fun to get back into it and to be able to talk to her about it and she be into it.
Yeah.
Even though I found out that part of it is because there's a lot of the hunks that are on the screen.
Yeah.
What brought
Well, that's
her-
why you're into it too, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I got no problem with admiring a man with a great body, and I'll tell a man he's got a great body. I have no issues with that whatsoever. But yeah, there's nothing in particular that I'm like, I can't wait to watch and see. So I do hope they get rid of the storyline with was it Mike Kanellis' wife?
Oh, Maria Kanellis.
Oh, yeah. It just no.
That, and then like the Lana stuff, like the Cuck stuff, like
Oh boy.
like that stuff doesn't interest me whatsoever.
So how do you feel, Al?
I was going to say, circling back from the beginning, where I was like, "Am I going to care about this?"
Right.
I'm still not interested in watching wrestling. I'll be honest.
All right.
However, I do completely understand why you build this as being the biggest week in professional wrestling, at least for the 21st century. And maybe that's because I was watching during the Monday Night Wars. And I remember that. So, but yeah, kind of as you all covered in the beginning of this, for the wrestling fan, whether you are maybe you're not into AEW at all and you just don't care,
right?
Still enjoy it because competition is going to make WWE step up their game, and you're going to see some pretty spectacular things born out of the competition. So,
right.
No, it is. That's for a wrestling fan, it's very exciting, and I do understand why it's such a big week. So I was engaged by that conversation.
Well, I think that,
and I don't care, and I was engaged. So
I think that I hope.
Congratulations to you all.
I hope that we never have any competition because don't raise the bar on us, please.
Oh God!
Please do not raise the bar on myself, James, and Al. We can only do so much, you guys. But we
I'm just
appreciate.
gonna roll over and die on that one. I'm done.
We appreciate Erica and Shonny. We appreciate you guys coming in and talk some wrestling with us this week. And as always, we appreciate you at home listening to us or watching us on Wednesday afternoons on twitch.tv/CheckpointXP.
And we usually do that right around 11:30 on a Wednesday afternoon. And you can check out the YouTube channel now for stuff that you missed.
You can get some clips up on there. And, of course, we encourage you guys to download the podcast. Let's talk about one of the reviews on our podcast over on Apple Podcast. Karacutie21 says that she loves these guys.
All right.
We love you too, Karacutie21.
All right, whose sister is that? Whose sister said that?
Mom downloaded iTunes.
Yeah.
She said it's a great nerd podcast. You get to a lot of that's going on in the nerd world. Funny and cool personalities. She's obviously talking about me.
Well, I don't meet any of those criteria, so obviously, yes.
Obviously. We all know how great at radio
Yes.
I absolutely am.
I'm just desperate for attention.
As I've said before, the louder
Splattering myself all over the
Al
internet.
Beck, desperate for attention.
Yeah, desperation.
the louder you say it, the more true it is. So with
I'm really sad.
that being said,
There's so many people out there that
great at radio. Great.
Oh, we need to wrap this up.
All right, we'll talk to you guys next
Got a
week.
therapy session to get to.
Make sure you hit us up on social media at NerdRadio 101. Make sure you download the podcast, giving us a rate and review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're getting it, and we'll talk to you next week.
Get it.